So, what you're about to see was finished at exactly 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's all for you guys. So,
Enjoy.
please and thank you. Have a great 10, however long.
Hopefully 10 minutes long video. All right. So, Lincoln was born on February 12th, 1809. It's a little loud. Yeah, a little low. All right. He was the second child of Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Hanks. Lincoln was born in Kentucky in the county of Hardin County, which is now present day LaRue County. And he was a president that went from rags to riches. Like, started off real poor, was born in a one-room cabin, log cabin, and his family moved to Virginia to Jefferson County. And he had a rough childhood, wasn't the best, but he was pretty much, you know, you know how that is. I think that's pretty much it for his childhood. I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, we'll see you. Yeah, yeah. It's
Bush! It's a boy! Abraham Lincoln!
So the Lincoln era begins with one event, and that is the Lincoln and Douglas debates. This overall debate was between the two different political parties, which were the Democrats, the side of Douglas, and the Republicans, the side of Lincoln. Go for it.
all right. The Lincoln Douglas debates. There are 7 debates, all held in the state of Illinois, and they were Lincoln and Douglas were running for senator or governor of Illinois, and unfortunately, Lincoln lost.
But it got him recognized by all of the Republican Party and won him like the nomination for president in 1960. Ultimately, winning him the presidency, and that's pretty much what started the whole era of Lincoln.
After Lincoln achieved presidency and was thrown into a country divided among itself, he delivered many speeches that were of great importance. One speech was the Gettysburg Address, which was delivered after the Battle of Gettysburg. The Gettysburg Address states the following.
Four scores and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether the nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that the nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this.
But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who have struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little know, no longer remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us.
that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. The Gettysburg Address was important because it reminded the Union of the Founding Fathers and what they were fighting for. The Gettysburg Address reminded the Union that they were fighting to preserve the Union and nothing else. On December 6, 1865, the 13th Amendment was ratified. The 13th Amendment abolished and prohibited slavery and involuntary solitude. President Lincoln passed the 13th Amendment because he was concerned that the Emancipation Proclamation, since it was given at the time of war, was not going to be followed after the war.
You're free.
You ain't taking my Negroes. The black man belongs with the white.
Well, according to my 13th Amendment, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to this jurisdiction.
Well, that's the most outrageous thing I ever heard. A black free Negro.
You're free.
Lincoln wanted the reintegration of Southern states to the Union as quickly as possible. He made this possible under the 10% Plan. The 10% Plan would reinstate Southern states to the Union after 10% of the population would agree to abide by the emancipation rules. The next step after readmission to the Union would to formally select a state government. By 1864, 3 states had fully functioning Unionist governments. On April 14, 1865, tragedy struck. While watching our American cousin with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. The culprit, John Wilkes Booth, who was part of a cult. Their goal was to throw the Union government into disarray after killing the president and his vice president. Fortunately, the vice president was unscathed.
Alright, Lincoln and his wife are at the play.
Oh, Figaro, 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 Figaro.
When suddenly, John Wilkes Booth shoots Lincoln.
Oh.
Wilkes is immediately stopped by police.
My phone.